I'm James Howell, and this is 11th Heaven Critical Suplex, an extended look at Grasshopper Manufacture's 2007 game No More Heroes, written and directed by Suda51. Heaven 8, Speedbuster with Jonathan Kim. Life circumstances will soon take away the time that I have to dedicate to this video project, so, in the interest of bringing it to a complete close, I'm skipping the critical introduction and going straight to the interview mic with this episode's guest. Please enjoy the following footage of a man getting dressed. Joining me for Speedbuster is Jonathan Kim, a senior animator with LabZero Games. His work appears in such titles as the brawler Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and the arcade fighter Skullgirls. He and LabZero Games have just dramatically crowdfunded the action RPG Indivisible. Jonathan, welcome, and congratulations.
Thank you. Hello. Glad to be here. Sounds like such a show like that.
Yeah, the opening always has kind of a DJ quality.
I like your announcer voice.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been well rehearsed since I was a kid making radio shows on cassette with my cats as guests. So talking with me, you follow in some very fine footsteps.
How do you do that speedy jog? I didn't know that was available.
That is, you get it from the Lovikov balls. When you collect enough of those balls and you go to this... the game for the balls is never really specified. It's kind of this vague rugby soccer thing that an old Russian dude might...
Yeah.
But yeah, when you unlock skills from him, they're all references to the personalities in Killer 7.
Oh. Huh.
And this one is Memory of Child, referring to Khan Smith. And Khan's special ability was Dangerous. And then he would do his little skitter sprint.
It's amazing that there's still secrets about the game. Like, I thought I played the game a lot. There's still things I don't know. That's why I kind of didn't like the second game as much, because you didn't have the overworld where you could just explore and drive your car or your motorcycle around. It was like really rough around the edges, but fun to just drive your motorcycle around, do really quick turns and bash into things and get it stuck.
Yeah.
I remember I got it stuck in like a small garden once. Or I got it stuck just like parking it. And so I had to like leave the block and call my friend to drive it over to me.
Yeah, right. Your friend apparently has some master parking, or at least unparking skills, Bishop.
I like it took me a long time to realize that you can manipulate the star.
Really?
I found it completely by accident just from mashing buttons, waiting for the loading screen.
Yeah.
And once I found out, I never stopped. It's such a nice, just a fun thing to do.
Yeah. I think the only other game that I can think of that did something similar was Devil May Cry 3.
Fuck you, you little prick.
What happens in that loading screen?
It gives you the little Devil May Cry 3 logo, and if you mash the buttons real fast, it will kind of put bullet holes in it, and certain buttons will do like a little fwink sword slice.
Right, I remember now, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that in this game, that if you pass the screen, it'll loop around with a different color.
Yeah.
It's such a minor detail, but it's such a nice feel.
Yeah, and they also thought it through really well. They gave it a kind of gravity.
Yeah, yeah. It has a momentum and a gravity. Yeah, it's super nice.
And if you let it go, it doesn't just sort of start cycling aimlessly through colors. I mean, the colors might be random in terms of when they're assigned, but if you stop charging it up and you've got a load screen long enough and it starts dropping down, it will go through all the same colors.
Right.
And then when it gets that blue and hits the ground again, it actually bounces.
Yeah, like that's what I like a lot about this game. There's all these little polished details that someone took the time to figure out and notice and pay attention to.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like those things really make a difference in a game. Well, actually, there was a GDC talk or maybe a write-up by the creator of I'm blanking on his name now. He made the game where you eat the weird sandwiches and it's Twin Peaksy.
Oh, Swery.
Yeah, Swery. He had a talk where he said that players will only remember those weird details. Like, that's why you should always have them in, like, include them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like the weird details make the game,
Yeah, totally.
and this game is just full of those kind of like lovingly weird details.
Yeah.
Like no other game would you want to check every dumpster, for example.
Right. A lot of those details come through in the UI, and I don't know much about UI design. Like, I'm thinking about this game, and I'm also thinking about, well, actually, your online handle namesake, Persona 4.
Right, it has like the best, the classy UI.
Yeah, it's got a memorable sound effect for when you confirm and when you deny. It's got those really bright popping sort of saffron colors, and that's one thing about. I mean, it's kind of become a cliche in sort of our online circle about blue skies, but self-consciously or self-awaredly so. Anyway, and this game has that similar Japanese visual aesthetic, a visual aesthetic that I associate with Japanese games from. I would say this is nearing the end of that era.
Oh, speaking of which, do you remember that earlier screenshots had a completely different UI for No More Heroes?
Yes, I do. Everything was kind of like blockier.
Yeah, it didn't look as interesting.
No, it also took up more screen real estate.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, the not being afraid to use a colorful palette like this game uses so many pastels and neons is just it's very refreshing from a lot of games like
Oh, the modern day games especially.
yeah.
They all have a very kind of a... Well, they're all copying the movies of these days where it's like a very saturated orange-blue kind of palette.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Like it's only in those colors. They're afraid to go rainbow.
Right. I guess it's more appropriate in this instance than necessarily stylish. I mean, it's stylish, but it's appropriate for the character type to have these yakuza and like these super gaudy suits.
Super purple suits.
Yeah.
You know, I think, especially for Deadly Premonition, it benefits. It can be like that because the team was so small working on it. It gets that like everyone can put their creative input. That's where we can have like a creative direction on everything because he can manage everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so small. The development team is so small, and I remember reading that he put a lot of his personal resources into seeing it through.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, like I think the team's only like 15 people or something super small like that.
Yeah, the smaller a team you have, the closer it gets to kind of an indie type vision.
Right, where what they're delivering is very much what they want.
Which is, ironically, given what we're talking about in our mutual interest, the situation with Sega Gaga.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, such a great origin story. Just
Oh, God.
secretly making it with like a small covert team while everyone else is like dying over Shenmue.
Yeah, exactly. Which, for anybody listening who doesn't know, Sega Gaga was a kind of mishmash genre RPG-ish game about Sega's rise back into prominence in like 2020 or something. And when it was in development, it was made on a very low-key level, did not get very much publicity, and was kind of skirting past on a budget. So, yeah, kind of a clandestine little swan song for the Dreamcast.
I mean, that's the fun of creating together with the group. Especially for me, I do a lot of fan comics with my girlfriend, and like before, I would just do it by myself, so it'd be just my own vision all the way through. But when I collaborate with her, I since I have someone to bounce ideas off of, it's interesting to see how much an idea would evolve and change versus how much like where it would stop in my own head.
Right.
Like creatively collaborating with someone, it takes you somewhere that you wouldn't normally go to, or brings out like different routes and endings that you wouldn't think otherwise.
When you start designing a character or work on any kind of exploratory drawing, do you I guess, like, this is kind of a very vague question, but do you feel like what you do like kind of resonates with this sort of tradition of brighter, poppier colors?
I just wanted to point out, well, I'll get to your question in a second, but I like that Travis is just boredly sitting in the bus, like wanting to die. And then he just gets up and starts fighting in this 2D only arena right here.
Yeah.
It's such a good character trait. Like there's so many moments where they add like really specific character poses, animations just for Travis, for like in really short shots that really add to his character.
Yeah. I like how the graphics on this sort of date this bus, because it's got those giant CRT televisions hanging above the seats every little way, every 4 or 5 seats.
Yeah, for a Japanese game, they did a really great job capturing like America, like a certain slice of it.
Yeah, this game sort of hits that. It sort of hits the same. It hits that same feeling of being close enough, but just off enough to be interesting that like Silent Hill does in terms of
Right.
capturing like an American town.
Same with the Sweries games.
With Deadly Premonition,
Yeah, like
I haven't
it's
played
very.
D4. I'm not that familiar with what it achieves.
I have not. I've only played the demo of it too, so I'm not sure either. But yeah, I love the Japanese reinterpretation of American society and the layouts.
Yeah,
Also, just all Sand to Destroy, how it feels like California. Since I'm a California native, I look at it and go, oh man, they really captured the giant freeways and the parks and things.
really.
Yeah, like just running around Sand to Destroy feels like running around Santa Barbara or not. No, maybe San Diego or something.
Huh. It always makes me think of Denton and
Oh, really?
Dallas. Like, which I guess in itself is kind of a testament to how well it evokes what it's trying to evoke, because it feels to me like this. It feels to me like a southwestern town that is just like a southwestern town that is just dead enough to be really boring, but not dead enough to, but still alive enough to have like some kind of local economy. You know, one of the things I really like about this game is how open-ended a lot of the stuff is, and how much it doesn't give away, or even how much is like red herrings, like I think Ryan Payton mentioned in the first video, kind of how evasive it is. I think that people are interested in concrete stories, and I think that it's easy for somebody to be satisfied with a concrete story and then to stop asking questions. But if you leave a concrete story open, then you invite those questions.
Right, and like yeah, if you not diffuse, but if you tell a story badly, it leaves it, because it leaves it to interpretation. People assume automatically it's deep because they don't understand it. Like how End of Ava was like for a generation, it made people think, oh, Evangelion must be so deep. But wait, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, leaving things open. That's actually one of the interesting things. I feel the MGS5s. Have you had time to play through it? Oh yeah, you have, of course.
Oh yeah, I 100% of that fucker.
Like the fact that the plot is not wrapped up and it leaves so much open, it makes people think about the game a lot more than they would have if it was a nice clean package like MGS3.
Yeah.
Because I know I've thought of MGS5's plot and gameplay just a lot more than any other MGS because of that.
I've done the same despite myself.
Yeah.
I finished it, I was like, this is fucking stupid. Then I was like, but then again.
It leaves you like thinking about so many things. Just yeah, like if only it was deliberately like that, like how MGS2 wrapped its plot up and like left a lot of things open. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder also, like, a lot of those kind of things are just advertising too, because maybe the team has a creative say, and they don't want to be public speakers about it so
Right.
much. So, but like, yeah, like maybe some directors are just producers more or less. They're just good at organizing everything. They don't necessarily care so much about whether the game has a message or whether it plays well or anything, or depending on their desires and things. But yeah, like how much auteurship is actually auteurship versus like the team composition versus like the lead designer who has a message for it, or the story writer, or whoever else is in charge or who has the most drive about it. I mean, for like other games, like especially for old games where the team was very small, then the director there has very much a say in how the games are made, and everything was designed around a specific idea. But nowadays, when games have like teams of 40, 50, like who's to say really like what the directing vision is? Or yeah, I don't know what I'm going with this.
No, I know what you mean, and I agree. I think that in terms of marketing, it's much easier to associate a product with a personality,
Right.
than it is with a team or an abstract name. So it's that cult of personality, that auteur era of Japanese gaming. could very well simply be a consequence of a common marketing practice of Japanese publishers and studios, and also, just the way that they handle the way that the studio speaks to press and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And just to clarify, I don't mean to be overly cynical on that point. I mean, obviously a director gives a special touch and personality to any project, they work on. I kind of differentiate between auteurship as a perception of an artist and the actual touch or personality that that artist gives to the work. I mean, clearly that comes out when people collaborate, like you said. There's a really cool mixture of elements.
Oh, actually, speaking of collaborations with Suda, I wonder what didn't Suda had the Snatcher collaboration with Kojima, right? Like, I wonder, was that any good? Was that translated ever?
I think that radio play was just kept in Japanese. There might be a fan translation out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's any interest or any good or at all.
Yeah, the name on that. That's one of those. Gosh, it's one of those Japanese English artifacts that does not work at all. But because it doesn't work, is charming because of that. Like Snatcher in Japanese with the katakana would be sunacha, and so because it's got sudas involved, and it's sudacha, and so that's why. But in English, it's rendered snatcher or sudatcher, and it's like the only reason it makes sense as a pun is because there's the invisible U's in between the S and the D, but those get taken out when kind of forced into English. So
doesn't it turn into just SD Snatcher then?
Yep, SD Atcher.
Like the SD Snatcher that came out for the MSX or whatever.
I forgot about that, the super deformed version.
Right.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but yeah, again, I find that very charming because of how just utterly unworkable that is. Oh, this is a really cool little detail. Check the side of the bus. You'll see a little post-it note that's got a little smiley cat face on it. I love this. I've said this in other interviews before, but I really like how much this game leaves unsaid. Like, having specific ideas in mind that you want to communicate, but also being skillful enough at suggesting those, and also comfortable enough that the majority of people might not get it, to leave that artfully incomplete, I guess.
Do you have an example from this game that you think is a successfully artfully incomplete?
Let me think.
Maybe like just a scenario in general, how so many questions are left unanswered.
Well, in this episode, Thunder Dew and Speedbuster.
Right, the relationship.
Yeah, like how do they know each other? They are here. They don't seem to be here because of any sort of coordination on Sylvia's behalf. Sylvia, the reason Travis is here is because of Sylvia. Thunder Dew appears to be here for some personal purpose or some purpose outside of, Travis's. Travis wants to be number one, but Thunder Dew is clearly not part of this process.
Right, he's just having a duel.
But yeah, it leaves that completely. It brings it up, and then drops it.
Yeah.
It's like, do whatever you want with this, guys.
What? Cat.
Kitty is so good. He forgets entirely what he's doing. It's still so good. I also love that he has a very stereotypical Japanese American accent.
Yes.
It's the Mr. Miyagi accent.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of appropriate that a Japanese developed game localized into English would sort of, as much as it parodies and draws from American media, would use kind of a Mr. Miyagi stereotype vocally.
That scream is so good. Oh, now I think of Kaz whenever I listen to what's his name? Travis. Also, is the cannon supposed to be designed to look like a chicken head or something?
I think that her canon is another dick joke.
Oh.
Because there's the crone stereotype of not needing any men and being kind of a man-hating, unmarriageable woman. I mean, that's kind of a cultural stereotype that persists across a variety of storytelling media, and so she kind of fits that. She kind of fits that description, which also kind of connects back to the witch thing. But in terms of symbolic communication or symbolic characterization, in a game that very clearly makes Travis's sword a phallic object and has that at its forefront, it gives her a phallic weapon, and it's in the shape of a cock.
Oh, well then there you go. Yeah, it's a cock.
Yeah, exactly. The double cock. Despite having a dick joke as a constant companion, Travis manages to come out pretty cool. And that's actually one of the weird things about Travis. You don't really know if he's cool or not.
That's the part of his appeal, right? It's kind of like Raiden, how he thinks he's really cool.
Yes, exactly.
Except I think Travis actually does succeed in a lot of ways.
Do you think there's anything more there than just the image?
Like, that's what I kind of like about Travis. He has a bit of depth to him. Like, he play acts like the cool swordsman, but at the same time, there are moments when he does get serious, like when he refuses to kill Shinobu,
Right.
and delivers a soliloquy, or when he like grieves over the death of a fellow warrior, like in the second game against the motorcycle guy.
I don't remember the motorcycle guy.
He was like a Yankee-looking like Japanese 70s motorcycle character who also they had a motorcycle race together, and they're very much like brothers from a different country. He very much grieves for him, and you can feel that he had a loss.
Right. He kind of does the same thing with Holly Summers in this one.
Oh, right.
You know, with embracing her exploded torso and falling in love with her soul. It's probably glitchy, but I love that fly slammed against the windshield animation that Travis has
like,
when you die.
There's a weird fluttering in the air.
Yeah, and that's like spazzing.
It's so cartoony. It's so great. Also, yeah, why are these guys just all hanging around?
Yeah, I'm leaning toward the idea that they are Yakuza against Thunderdew, and maybe because they're on the bus, they are in pursuit of him. I mean, if they were Yakuza... Let's say this. If they were Yakuza on Thunderdew's side, then it doesn't make sense why they would be attacking Travis. They would be attacking Speedbuster and helping him. But they're laying here in ambush, so clearly they would be waiting to attack Thunderdew as well, which is why they're here as Travis's enemies. On the other hand, Thunderdew would have known that Travis was coming to fight Speedbuster as part of the contest, so maybe he used his Yakuza connections to put these lackeys in Travis's way and slow him down, so that he could have, so he could beat Speedbuster before he got there, before Travis got there.
Oh, I wanted to point out, actually, I just remembered. I love that her laser gun sounds like a airplane slash like a bullet train slash like just a giant freighter.
I've never thought of that before. So it sounds like a large vehicle, or a particular kind of large vehicle?
Like either a train or an airplane or something, but it has just a presence. It's not just like a laser sound, it's just a, a vehicle of some sort.
Right. Huh. I've never paid attention to its acoustic presence. I find the kitten meows in this game they're strangely compelling. I really like listening to how sound designers imagine sounds that I'm fairly familiar with, and cat meow, of course, is one that I'm very familiar with, and so I listen to it, and it sounds just right enough. It's the sort of thing that I'm sort of hypnotized by whenever I play through that cutscene.
It's so that's one of the differences between Western sound design and Japanese sound design is that in Japan they're very much serving a purpose of the game, and like they're supposed to be iconic and work to represent an idea and a concept to benefit the game. Whereas in Western games it's more of a realistic soundscape, and so it must be accurate or must be an actual Foley noise.
Right.
That's one of the things. It's one of the criticisms we get about Skullgirls, actually, which I think is completely undeserved. Is that our approach was the Japanese mentality of game design, where everything has to, should feel like an arcade game, like a Capcom arcade game specifically.
Right.
But we've got a lot of like shit from apparently the sound community where they go, "Oh, what are these terrible no sounds? It just sounds like a joke. Like whoever made this must have been terrible." I have a lot of resentment about that. Like they just don't understand. Like meanwhile, American or not American, but Western games all sound just like realistic things where you go outside and you bang some pots together, and that's what armor sounds like. No,
Right.
You should make sound for games to be iconic and memorable, rather than serving some like realistic fetishism.
I think that there's maybe a little bit of suspicion of weirdness. At least that's the language I use in my mind. Maybe some fear of being misunderstood, or some sort of intention being miscommunicated. I think this is the only laser that I've seen that is visually represented like this, with that sort of black core.
Yeah, it's super distinct. It's really interesting. I wonder what it looked like on the PS3 version now.
It looks sort of similar, but like it still has that black core, but it's not as clearly defined against the red/white, crimson colors.
Kind of looks like a popsicle.
I
Also,
see that.
when you slice down the doors, when I played it, I always did a combo because I forgot you could do like EX moves or stronger attacks like that.
That was actually a light bulb moment when I was playing through, trying to get a good recording of this, because I kept getting stuck outdoors and not at these junctions, and then I realized, oh wait, it's a one-hit kill. It's a one-hit destruction.
Yeah, it's super smart. I wish I thought of that too.
Something that's really neat about the dark side modes in this, because you cannot take damage during dark side mode, and because I believe your sword does not deplete, you can actually, when you're in dark side mode, you can actually rush her.
Oh.
And you have to press the A button real fast not to lose ground when she blasts you, but you can basically run into it. You will not take any damage, and your saber will not deplete.
Oh, you should try doing that to get all the way up to her.
Yeah, I think you would have to be lucky to get like a few of them in succession. I was only able to make it like a few. I guess I don't know what kind of measurement you would use.
Well, speaking of the dark side, I remember in the second game, I didn't know how to beat the final boss. I couldn't figure it out. I mean, after you knock him down. So I had to end up just using, trying to get the dark side mode so I could just be strong enough to beat him with just multiple slashes.
Do you mean against Henry?
In the second game. The pizza kid or whatever.
Oh my god, fucking nightmare.
It's such a bad boss fight. I did not enjoy that one.
No. I was close to just banging my head against a wall for that.
When I got the game, I played through it, and then I tried playing through it again on very hard, but I could not get past the flamethrower kid.
The Matt Helms, I think it was?
Yeah, Matt Helms. I could not beat it, and I just gave up on it. On the other hand, I enjoyed the first one so much, I played through it 5 times in a row or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that the first one is definitely the stronger between the two.
Actually, I have a good story about this game. So when the game came out, yeah, it was when I was at CalArts, and I finished my animated second-year film, Godslayer, which is a rock opera. And everyone in my school loved it so much that there was actually a party where a band was going to play it there live.
Oh, cool.
Everyone wanted it to be a surprise for me, so no one told me. So on the day of the party, I just stayed in my cubicle and played No More Heroes instead.
Oh my god!
And so next day, everyone was like, "Oh hey, did you see the band? Wasn't that so awesome?" I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?"
Oh no!
It's like wait, what? Wait, oh, it was a secret. Oh, no one ever told you.
Oh no!
And I was like, wow, I wish I would have liked to seen that. But I got to, play No More Heroes, so maybe that's all right.
Yeah.
Also, I love that you got them right here, so they blow up.
Yeah, I really like that the laser is an environmental weapon, and that the regular enemies are subject to it as much as Travis.
It makes in-world sense, but it's a nice touch that they did it.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that you think that could easily be overlooked because they're technically on the same team, being against Travis. I don't know. It's one of the things that makes this boss fight so weird, compared to the others, where you have these unknown common enemies attacking Travis, and it's not totally clear where they're coming from or whose employ they're in, outside of maybe the UAA, and so at some point you kind of think, well, maybe they're affiliated with his boss in some capacity that's not really explained by the story. But
I mean, in world logic, a giant laser beam is not going to have affiliation.
right. And Speedbuster seems to be doing it fairly indiscriminately.
Yeah. I like that Speedbuster has such almost a moe haircut.
She's got the pigtails.
Yeah. She's very much like a young pixie girl or something, except she's a fat, trailer park kind of lady.
Yeah. And she has, it's interesting. She wears black, which is kind of traditional widow's clothing.
I think, the character designs of the game are what make it really stand out. They all have such a interesting look. Like, you'll never forget what one looks like compared to another. Oh, look at that Easter head.
How did you feel about the enemy designs and character designs in No More Heroes 2?
The bosses were, I still like them, but they don't seem as distinct. I mean, I don't know what it is about them. Like, some of them are still pretty good. I feel like half of them are good. The other half kind of pretty miss. Like, I don't think the Venom lady, the one that's all in bondage in the prison, she's very memorable.
I think Chloe Walsh was her name.
Yeah, she just seems like very throwaway. Well, also, I think maybe it's just like the whole feel of the game, because also musically, I don't think the soundtrack of the second game is as good as the first one.
Oh, definitely.
Where the first one just has a repeating theme and then special theme songs for each boss to make them distinct.
Right.
But the second game did not have a theme that they just repeat throughout the entire game. Instead, it was just different songs for everything. There was no cohesiveness in that sense.
In a way that kind of echoes the sort of disappointment with the lack of an overworld, because the overworld kind of bound everything together. One of the things that's very clearly identifying about No More Heroes is the visual style.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of what do you have any particular reaction to that? Since, I mean, of course, visual art is kind of your home turf.
Oh, I think it's really nice. Like, their shader, it can take even a low poly model and make it look very distinct, because it's just like a harsh black shadow, kind of like a comic book.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the things that don't look as nice on the PS3 version, because they don't make it as harsh of a contrast. They kind of make it more of a middle ground, just to compensate for the higher resness, or just to make it look more HD, I guess. I don't know what their reasons are.
I can see that. I got that feeling from it too.
Yeah, the Wii version definitely looks more distinct, more graphic in the way that the shader works. And also, just everything about it, it works in its presentation. Like, the stage, like in any other game, would look just drab, and it looks like the beginning of MGS4, the desert. Just gray.
It's kind of like doing more with less, because you're artfully hiding half the model in its details.
I also really love that star wipe. In the PS3 version, that star wipe looks amazing.
Does it?
Yeah, it's like even more pixels and lines everywhere.
Well, and that brings us to the end of Heaven 8 with Speedbuster. Our guest is Jonathan Kim of LabZero Games. Jonathan, thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. I could talk about No More Heroes forever.
See you next time, everyone.
Bye.